It started like any other ordinary morning. A bank opened its doors, employees logged into their systems, customers walked in and out, and nothing seemed out of place. But by the end of the day, millions of dollars had vanished without a single alarm, without a single weapon, and without a single suspect. No broken locks, no forced entry, no chaos. Just gone. And to this day, no one knows exactly how it happened. This is the story of the most perfect bank heist that was never solved. To understand how something like this could happen, you have to forget everything you think you know about bank robberies. There were no masks, no shouting, no dramatic getaways. This wasn't a crime of speed. It was a crime of patience, intelligence, and absolute precision. The target was a mid-sized financial institution, the kind that doesn't make headlines but quietly handles millions in transactions every single day. That's what made it perfect. Not too big to attract constant scrutiny, not too small to be insignificant. Just enough money, just enough security, and just enough routine to hide something extraordinary. Weeks before the heist, something unusual began happening, but no one noticed at the time. A new cleaning crew was hired. Temporary contractors came in to upgrade certain internal systems. A few employees reported minor glitches in their login credentials, but IT brushed it off as routine maintenance issues. Nothing alarming, nothing urgent, just small, forgettable details. But when investigators later looked back, they realized those were not coincidences. Those were the first moves. Whoever planned this wasn't just targeting money, they were studying behavior. They were mapping routines, identifying patterns, and most importantly, understanding human weakness. Because the biggest vulnerability in any secure system isn't technology, it's people. The first real clue came from security footage, but even that raised more questions than answers. Cameras showed employees going about their day, doors opening and closing as expected, no suspicious activity. But when analysts slowed down the footage frame by frame, they noticed something subtle. A man who appeared multiple times in different areas of the building, always dressed differently, always blending in. Sometimes he looked like a technician, sometimes like a delivery worker, sometimes like just another employee. No one stopped him because he always looked like he belonged, and that was the key. He didn't break in, he walked in. Over the course of several days, this individual gained access to restricted areas without ever triggering suspicion. He observed security protocols, watched how employees authenticated themselves, and likely gathered critical information without ever touching a single safe. But the real genius of the operation wasn't just physical access, it was digital. Somewhere along the timeline, a silent breach occurred within the bank's internal network. Not a loud hack, not a brute force attack, but a carefully crafted infiltration. Investigators later discovered traces of malware, but it was unlike anything they had seen before. It didn't steal data immediately. It waited, it learned, it adapted. This malware observed transaction patterns, learned authorization processes, and essentially taught itself how the bank operated. It was like having an invisible insider who never made mistakes. And then, on the day of the heist, everything aligned. Transactions began to move. Small at first, almost invisible amounts, routed through multiple accounts, split into fragments so tiny they didn't trigger any alerts. But as the day progressed, those fragments combined, moved again and again, until they formed a massive sum that had already passed through layers of obfuscation. By the time anyone noticed, the money was no longer in the system. It had been converted, transferred, and scattered across jurisdictions that made recovery nearly impossible. What made this heist truly perfect wasn't just the execution, it was the exit. There was no escape vehicle because there was no physical theft. There was no suspect because there was no single point of failure. Every part of the operation was compartmentalized. The person seen in the footage may not have even known the full plan. The malware may have been deployed by someone entirely different. The financial routing could have been handled remotely from another country. It was a system, not a person, and systems don't leave fingerprints. When investigators finally realized what had happened, they launched a massive operation. Cybersecurity experts, financial analysts, law enforcement agencies, all working together to trace the money. But every lead ended the same way. a dead end, accounts that no longer existed, identities that were fabricated, digital trails that vanished as soon as they were followed. It was as if the entire heist had been designed not just to succeed, but to erase itself. And then came the most unsettling realization. There was no evidence of urgency, no rushed transactions, no mistakes. Everything had been planned so meticulously that even under investigation, it looked like normal activity. That's when experts began to ask a terrifying question. What if this wasn't a one-time event? What if this was a test? Because if someone could do this once, perfectly, without being caught, what was stopping them from doing it again? Or worse, what if they already had? As the case grew colder, theories began to emerge. Some believed it was an inside job, orchestrated by someone with deep knowledge of the bank's systems. Others argued it was an international cybercrime syndicate, using advanced tools and coordinated teams. A few even suggested the possibility of state-level involvement, given the sophistication of the attack. But without concrete evidence, all of these remained just theories. The truth was, no one knew. And maybe that's what makes this story so unsettling. Not the money that was stolen, but the method that was used, because it revealed something we don't like to admit. That even the systems we trust the most can be quietly manipulated, observed, and ultimately controlled without us ever realizing it. Today, the bank has upgraded its security, implemented new protocols, and trained its employees to recognize suspicious behavior. But the question still lingers. Would it even matter? Because if the same people or system decided to do it again, would anyone be able to stop them? Or would it happen the same way it did before, silently, perfectly, and without a trace? And maybe the most chilling part of this entire story is this. Somewhere out there, the person or people behind this heist are still free, watching, learning, waiting. Because the perfect crime isn't just the one you get away with. It's the one no one even realizes has happened until it's already too late.